I am Deputy Susan Kier, and over the next few minutes, I am going to tell you a story. It's one of bravery, loyalty, and betrayal. A story of what happens when a group of people do not properly value the talent of others. The story began in the Caribbean. Imagine these islands in 1914. The First World War had just begun and the men volunteered to fight for Britain. So keen are they, some even travelled as stowaways. The British War Office warns them they'll be sent back if they arrive. But they do arrive here in Britain, and more men from the West Indies are volunteering. But the government can't decide what to do. It's not convinced. It wants non-whites fighting white soldiers. But it's King George V who intervenes and supports the idea of a British West Indian Regiment. Such was the loyalty in the Caribbean that during the war, local papers published posters encouraging volunteers. His Most Gracious Majesty King George has called on the men of his empire, men of every class, creed and colour, to come forward to fight, that the empire might be saved and the foe may be well beaten. Britain did not know what to do with these enthusiastic, loyal volunteer soldiers. So, they got them to dig ditches and do bits of manual labour. The story continues here at the National Army Museum in London. It's not a happy one. 1916, the Battle of the Somme, mass casualties and a shortage of manpower, the war was getting worse. All of a sudden, Britain decides that these Caribbean soldiers might be useful after all. Soldiers from the 3rd Battalion British West Indian Regiment is sent to the front line and immediately shelled by German artillery. Others are sent to join expeditionary forces in Egypt and what's now Iraq, as well as Palestine, and more are recruited. This war diary demonstrates the bravery of these men from the West Indies. Look at this letter, 20th May 1917, an act of gallantry when Private Seeley of the 1st Battalion tries to save a comrade at sea but is overcome by the strength of the current and drowned in an attempt. His comrade was eventually saved. Just like previous campaigns, at the end of the First World War, 16 of the men, whom the British previously didn't want, were decorated for bravery. Field Marshal Sir Douglas Haig commended the regiment for their resilience, dedication, and exceptional fitness. So, had they now proved themselves and become accepted? In spite of valor shown throughout the years by men from the Caribbean, when a pay rise was given to British soldiers, members of the British West Indian Regiment were refused it. They complained about discrimination and were made to do demeaning manual labor. Eventually, they rebelled, and some were sentenced to 3 to 5 years imprisonment. The rest returned to the Caribbean, where they were denied any homecoming or victory parade. 15,000 men had served. As one British colonel put it, never were the West Indies so badly humiliated and treated. This is part of our history of 100 years ago and what happens when people are judged not by their actions but by the color of their skin. Today in 2021, we hope we've learned to welcome and embrace all talent, all cultures and backgrounds, because only then do we have a realistic hope to be the best.